Hi, everyone. Welcome to this first session of the Fair Data Stewardship training, which has been organized in a collaboration between IPA and Vodan. This training, this program focuses on fair OLR sensitive data, specifically information recorded by often NGOs related to sexual violence, human trafficking incidences, and urgent refugee protection needs. That's the IPA side. And on the Vodan side, which focuses on health data, local hospital records, and ANC visits where patients show signs of trauma. This program also focuses on a co-creation of fair data management tools, and the co-creation is with technical experts and domain experts who have experience in the fields. This program builds upon work that has already been done or that is being carried out at the moment in the larger program, in the larger project. There have been already a number of publications related to these topics and how to verify the data. For instance, in the book that was launched recently, Fair Data, Fair Africa, Fair World, the Internationalization of the Health Data Space. There's also an article coming soon in an Elsevier book on access control. And there's also a book forthcoming on human trafficking. There's also been work done on pipelines, and some master's students are currently also working on pipelines and private pods. And Vodan has been carrying out work for a number of years related to the engineering and training, specifically on health data. The training is a collaboration between IPA and Vodan, and specifically the IPA We Habit project, which partners with Vodan. It's set up in a number of steps. So the first one was introduction and preparation, and also making contacts with relevant partners and NGOs. Then there's the team building, establishing co-creation with senior data stewards, and then working on the pipeline for the data. So this goes from data entry to the point where the data can be published in a particular format that is secure and can be linked to other data. So the data entry is usually done with a data entry form or data capture tool such as RedCap, and it includes structured indicators for instance, possible sexual violence, or indicators for ANC, signs of trauma, etc. Using OpenRefine, RDF is generated from the data, and the data is anonymized and aligned with WHO ICD 11 codes whenever possible, specifically for ANC data. The metadata that is created is then published to FAIR data points, and then later researchers or health workers can use Sparkle, which is a query language, to detect, for instance, referral patterns, service gaps, or support needs, and it can be combined with trafficking or legal aid datasets, all without exposing identities. So let's start with the first 2 points. Obviously, introduction and preparation have already been conducted within this program. And the starting blocks are team building and establishing co-creation with senior data stewards. This is a bit of a timeline of the different steps. So the orientation was already conducted in between February and March, and then the teams were established in April during our training session on the 4th of April. And during this session, the first meetings and discussions were held. And in May, so this where we are right now, we're working on identifying a process in each team. And then the next steps will be understanding data capture, understanding analytical needs, the ownership of information, and then in July we'll have the developing the whole pipeline. The first steps, as I mentioned, between January and March of orientation and the first training sessions, we had one in March and one in April, have been completed. The second step was establishing the teams in April, which was done, but we have been reworking on the structure a little bit. So originally there were 3 EPA teams and 1 VODAN team, but we have split it up further to 5 EPA teams and 1 VODAN team to reflect the kind of information that is being worked with and the purpose a little bit better. So the 6 teams are: one focusing on instances of sexual violence in humanitarian situations. The second one is human trafficking individual sources. So this is when source persons receive information on human trafficking directly from human trafficking survivors or people who have information about it, and this may be in very unstructured format, and this information is unstructured and verified so that it can be better analyzed and linked to other data. The second human trafficking team, overall team number 3, focuses on victims' information on human trafficking and on linking organizations that work with refugees and human trafficking directly to victims of human trafficking, also through secure individual data pods that allow communication with these organizations. Then the third human trafficking team and fourth team overall is the human trafficking research information. This is information collected by researchers, often through in the format of interviews on human trafficking, which is also verified. So this is what you call legacy data, so data that has already been collected and need to be verified after it has been collected. It's the verification of legacy data is in contrast to de novo verification, or verification by design, when the verification process happens at the point of collection rather than post-collection. And then the fifth team is the one focusing on refugee protection needs, specifically looking at situation reports, so documenting instances and needs of refugees in different camps in different regions. And then the sixth team is a VODAN team focusing on antenatal care and delivery. The first step of these teams is to decide on the basic things of the team, like the responsibilities, the members, etc. So once the teams have been established, the teams need to come up with a name for the team. This name is important because when things will be published, such as vocabularies and tools, they need to be published under a certain name. And this name needs to reflect what the work is being done, and it's also the name of the community in general that may continue maintaining these tools and vocabularies. Then the teams also need to decide group members and the data stewards that will be assisting the teams. Then the next part is to decide on the roles in the team. So each team needs to have coordinators, people that focus on communicating within the team and communicating between teams, or a larger scale external communication, who will be doing the planning, the reporting, etc. The teams also need to set up regular meeting schedules. I think once a week would be ideal. And then the responsibilities in the team, which is related a little bit to the roles in the team. So that's on the teams. And then the next part is a senior data stewardship training, which is starting today, specifically for the data stewards who will be supporting the teams on a technical aspect. Some of the people participating in this training are also domain experts, which is also good. It's good to have a crossover between the technical expertise and the domain expertise. So the next steps then, and this is what the training will be focusing on, is the data capture, the creation of the metadata, the preparation of the data, um, publishing data in repositories held in residence, so within um, the places where the data is collected. So this may be within humanitarian organizations or hospitals or clinics. Then the data analysis and data interoperability to ensure that this data can be linked to other data within the community and between different communities. So each team in this case is a community. So the data should be interoperable within the teams, between the different organizations in the teams, and ideally also to some extent between the different teams. Again, these are the steps within the senior data stewardship will be conducted. The steps of a first product by the teams are understanding data capture, which will take place between May and June. In June, it will be understanding analytical needs. In May, June, understanding the ownership of information, and in July, developing a whole pipeline. And the trained senior data stewards will be implementing that within the different teams to get a really practical experience of how to do it. It's important to stress that the collaboration between the senior data stewards and the domain experts is really important. The people in the team that have a lot of expertise and understand the context within which the data is collected and should be analyzed and processed. And this is also where the data can be used for instance, advocacy or implementing new projects within the organizations based on the insights that can be gathered from this new verified data. When in the development of the entire pipeline, we're looking at the senior data stewards, but they will also be support from FODAN, who has already worked on pipelines for health data, and also the master students who are working on their own pipelines in a separate way, which relates very much to the topics that are being worked on in the different teams. And so all of this should be coming together in the last steps when the pipeline is being developed, and then the pipeline should be tested on the data within each team. So this is the introduction, and I hope that everything is very clear. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions or anything isn't clear about the program. And I hope the training will be really fruitful, and a lot of great insights will be coming out of the trainings and the pipelines that are being developed.